What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the Belly Up Sports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix from, you'll find us there as the full audio version of this podcast. Now, the video version of this podcast is available on Belly Up's YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, search up Belly Up Sports, and you'll find us there. There's another way you can watch us, which is on Goals TV, GOC.tv. There you can find us as well. And we haven't really done it lately, but we are breaking these episodes down into shorter videos, which is featured on our YouTube channel. So Insert MC does have a YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well to see maybe if you prefer the shorter videos over the full-length podcast itself, if you just maybe don't have time to listen to the whole episode itself. Though I will say, not everything that's on this episode will be on the short videos, just so you guys know, FYI. But all right, yeah. So this episode, no Edward this week, mainly because, like I said, there was gonna be a really busy week this past weekend. But before I go, happy birthday, Marines, and obviously, so you guys don't know, I'm recording on November 10th. So fun fact, it is the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. It's a huge tradition across the Marine Corps. If you guys know, I am a U.S. Marine Corps vet, along with our producer, Roosevelt Spencer. So we are both U.S. Marines. That's how I met Spencer, was through the Marine Corps. So yeah, I joined the Marine Corps straight out of high school. I was 18 years old. Really just had no real sense of direction, honestly. I was not a really good student to begin with, and from a young age, I've always been intrigued of joining the military. And so when I kind of was going into my senior year of high school, I made a decision to enlist into the United States Marine Corps. And I think maybe like 2 weeks, probably like 4 weeks after I graduated from high school, I was shipped out to boot camp. As a matter of fact, it was 3 weeks. So I shipped out to boot camp, went through basic training, 3 months of basic training, also the hardest training of all the American military forces. Maybe a worldwide, maybe I'm not gonna go that far out, but Marine Corps is one of the hardest branches in all the services. It's one of the more respected military branches across the world, and that was kind of the main reason why I joined the Marine Corps. I think when I was going through the whole join the military, I always wanted to be the Marine. I like the title Marine, earning the title Marine, all the traditions, obviously the uniforms. I mean, let's be honest, man. A good chunk of pregnancies are caused by that U.S. Marine Corps uniform, the dress blues. But I think in all actuality, man, the real stem from it was just I wanted to serve my country. At the end of the day, that's really what I wanted to do. And when I started going through all the options, which in hindsight, maybe not the best branch to go into, but when it comes to pride, the real reason why you join the Marine Corps is because there is a sense of pride that you want to take the challenge of becoming a United States Marine, and I took it. So, earned my title. You know, I served 5 years in the Marine Corps, and the rest is history. But Marine Corps has so many traditions that to this day that I still live with, and obviously the Marine Corps birthday is one of the biggest traditions in the Marines. The Marine Corps Ball is a very significant day. It's really cool to see that, even though, the times have changed, the eras have changed, but the Marine Corps is still very much the same. The brotherhood is still what it is from when I was there. So I think it's really cool. It's really something that I'm very proud of. So all the Marines out there, thank you for your service, and happy birthday, you sadistic motherfuckers. Sorry for cussing, Kelsey. So cheers to that, boys. Happy birthday, Marine Corps. Ah, man, that was smooth. All right. But on top of the Marine Corps birthday, it was also my niece's quinceañera. So that's kind of the reason why Edward's not available for this episode, is because me and him both were at the quinceañera. And then the following day, because we did have a lot of family come from outside of Houston to see us. We had family from El Salvador. We had family from Kentucky, from LA, Nevada, outside of Houston, still in Texas, come for this quinceañera, and it was just really cool, really awesome quinceañera. Actually, right when I joined, when I was going through boot camp and all that, my niece was born that year. She was born in 2010. Obviously, if you guys could do the math. And so, basically, like when I graduated, I graduated in September, and my niece was born in November. So at that time, I was going through my military job training, MOS school, and military occupation specialty. I was going through that at the time, and I remember, I knew my sister was pregnant. I'm not gonna but I remember that kind of became my purpose, was to become I said it last episode. Like for me, I've had some really influential uncles that I believe made me who I am today, and so I've always said that I can't wait to the day that I become an uncle. Specifically my tío Hector, who is no longer with us anymore. But he was always like the cool uncle, the one I can always lean to, the one I can always talk to. And I always felt like I was myself with him. And so I made sure. I remember when Heidi was born. That was my niece's name. When she was born, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be like the best damn uncle that has ever lived. For this kid, and I really hope that I have lived up to that, especially now that obviously my uncle Hector is no longer with us anymore, gone all the way back to 2021. So it was a very emotional day for like everyone in general, but like just to see my niece go, kind of, if you guys don't know what quinceañera is, it's essentially like the celebration of this young girl becoming a young woman. And so for me, it was just really great. It was awesome to really experience that for my niece. And, it really did tug the heartstrings, especially when, you've been there for a good chunk of the vast majority of her life. And it's a little bit more for me, just because of obviously one of the things that always really killed me personally going through being in the Marines was I was always away. And, it sucked, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, man. It sucked, to every time I came on leave, it was basically having her to like learn who I am and get used to being around me. But she was little. She was just like like we're talking about like a newborn from to a young like a child. But obviously I moved back in 2015, was there for her 5th birthday. And we have an amazing bond to this day. And so it was a really cool event. Yes, I cried. It's going to happen, especially with the connection that I have with her. It was a cool event. It was awesome to see family. It was one hell of a weekend. But yeah, that's the reason why Edward's not here. He, also because we're recording on Monday, and obviously Edward's only available on Sunday to record. So, and then obviously we had family over. So we had like a family thing. So I just didn't have time to like do anything. And plus I had a family member living with us that was from El Salvador. So we were kind of doing things with him, taking him out, showing him Houston. And so it was really cool in general. But, it was a cool event, but there is still things to talk about. Like I said, I was contemplating on whether or not I should make an episode just because of, in general, just stuff around. But I realized there's still things I need to talk about. And so luckily I don't have to like research any headlines, but I do have still to talk, because obviously it's international break, so we are going to talk about international football. We are going to recap the first round of the MLS Cup, and we're going to preview Liga MX Playoffs. Now, luckily, we do have the international break, so I don't believe there's any matches as far as league-wise goes happening, so that's a big plus for me. So now, like, we can work around with it a little bit further, and maybe we could have played around with it where I could have begun a break, but I really want to get this done. I still want to have episodes, and so we're going to talk about USMNT's national team, their international call-ups, because we have to. We're going to talk about Liga MX playoffs, and we're going to talk about the next round of MLS Cup playoffs and recap the first round as well. So it's still a lot to talk about. Obviously, players of the week, games to watch this weekend. It's international break, so we're going to talk about it. So it's really cool. Can't wait. And also not football, not soccer related, but American football-wise, First of all, I want to say to all my family members that made me turn off the Texans game to watch Barcelona, giant fuck you, because I missed the greatest comeback in Houston Texans history as they beat the Jaguars. If you guys didn't know, the Texans came up with 26 unanswered points in the second half to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and are very much now back in the race for a playoff position, which is insane with the way this season started out for the Texans. It's not necessarily that we're playoff bound at all by any means. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of like if the Texans can figure things out, who knows what could happen. And so, which I hate the Texans for doing that because it's the hope that kills you in reality. But hey, amazing. I wish I could say an amazing game because I missed the whole game because we had to watch a Barcelona game. So yeah, I want my family to feel bad. So if any family members are watching this right now that forced me to watch that Barcelona game when I could have been watching the Texans pull the greatest comeback of all time in the team's history, yeah, you guys owe me big time. I'm just saying, because I was very much in the emotions early on because the game was terrible. But for them to pull that comeback and to miss that comeback is just a travesty of all levels. But that's it for American football. We're back to real football, and like I said, Liga MX Playoffs, MLS Cup Playoffs, U.S. Men's National Team, Players of the Week, Games to Watch, and that should be really much it. So once again, guys, I hope you guys had a great Marine Corps birthday, great Veterans Day. Hope you all veterans, thank you for your service. But really honestly, I give two shits about the other service branches. It's all about the United States Marine Corps. Happy birthday, Marines. Happy 250th birthday. And we'll go ahead and take a break and then go right into Liga MX Playoffs. Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys, Liga MX is now in the playoffs, so we're going to go look at them at the table, how everything ended. I did say there was a lot of interesting things going into that decision day, and it was a really interesting decision day. So I'm not going to talk about the teams that aren't in the playoffs. We're just going to talk about the teams that are in the playoffs, though I will say the table will be to my side. That will show the final table for Liga MX for the Apertura. But up top is Toluca, so they finished up top of the table. Definitely one of the best one of the complete teams in Liga MX this season. Really interesting chain of events, just how that team has been playing. In second place, we do have Tigres, and in third, we have Cruz Azul. Also did very well this season. Very strong team. So this is going to be a really juicy Apertura, because I think that this is going to be one of those where it could really go either way. Like, a lot of these teams are really strong. The way they played so far, the way they played this season. So it's not just a clear favorite, in my opinion, even though Toluca looks really strong and looking to hopefully repeat, which is honestly one of the hardest things to do in the MX. I know that Club America did do the three-peat, but I will tell you, though, like, say what you want about America, especially where they are in the standings, they are still a team that you should not underestimate at any means possible, because they're still going to be causing some damage in some way, which Club America is in fourth place. Monterrey is in fifth. In sixth place, we got Chivas de Guadalajara. And the teams that are essentially in the play-in round, we have in seventh place, we got Club Tijuana. In eighth place, we got FC Juarez. Ninth place, Pachuca. And in 10th place, Pumas. These are the teams that are in the play-in. So the matchups for the first round of play-in games, which was, again, 7th and 8th place, will be playing against each other to see who will play against the second place team, which is Tigres. So that's what they're playing for. And 9th and 10th place are playing a game to decide who is going to play against the loser of the 7th and 8th place team game. And I'm just going to tell you right now, yes, I think this format sucks. But it is what it is. You want to, if you're in that 7th and 8th place game, you want to win that one so you don't have to play 2 extra matches. But you know, it has been done. A team that has been in the play-in round has won Liga MX. That was Club America. So maybe that's like an unfair statistic, but it has been done before. So it is what it is. But in ninth place, once again, ninth to 10th is going to be Pachuca versus Pumas. And like I said, Pachuca and Pumas are basically playing to get a shot to play against the first place team. The loser, obviously, of the 7-8 place game are playing a second match to hopefully still be in the playoff hunt. But they will have to play against Toluca. So if I were to predict how it will turn out, I'm gonna say Tijuana does take care of business with Juarez. I just think they're a better team. Obviously, if you're a fan of Gilberto Mora, this is probably a good chance for you to get some more tape on him. The kid's a really solid player. I love all the things that I'm watching from him. It's one of those guys that you kind of get excited for the future of this game, especially if you're someone that wants to see Mexico be back at least somewhat in the conversation as one of the stronger teams in CONCACAF. I know it's not been great for Mexico as far as their national team. Yes, they still win. They still win trophies. I'm not saying that they don't, but I mean, if you're an El Tri fan, I know there's been a lot of complaints about El Tri. That's just my whole point of all this. But yeah, Gilberto Mora does give you hope, and maybe one day we'll see the young players finally play for Mexico. But till then, we'll get there when we get there. But Gilberto Mora does give you faith that tide is going to happen. But I'm gonna say Tijuana wins it. They're gonna go up against Tigres in the playoffs. To play against FC Juarez, you know what? I'm gonna say Pumas. I know Pachuca is actually pretty good too. Well, I mean, obviously not this year, not so much this year. But I'm gonna say Pumas does beat Pachuca. I think that there's so much to talk about with Pumas right now, especially with the whole Ramsey thing. But no, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm gonna give it to Pachuca. So in the matchup between Pachuca and Juarez, give me Pachuca. I'm gonna take Pachuca. I think Juarez is gonna be the team that unfortunately misses out, and it sucks because you worked your butt off to be in that eighth place spot, and now you're not gonna get there. Um, so I'm gonna say the matchups for the first round of the playoffs. It's going to be Pachuca versus Toluca, uh, Tijuana versus Tigres, and then obviously we're gonna have Chivas versus Cruz Azul and Club America versus Monterrey. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man, Monterrey versus Club America sounds really enticing. Um, if I had to look at these matchups, that would probably be the match of the whole of this round. Uh, two of the more popular Liga MX sides going against each other. Sergio Ramos, all the stars that are playing for Club America. So this is a really interesting matchup, and I hope this does play out better than really good. I hope it doesn't start with a blowout, because honestly, one of my biggest gripes about this two leg all the way to the final thing is just that it does suck when it is very much one sided on one of the opening legs, um, where the league is almost insurmountable for the other side. Maybe it's not so bad in the playoff rounds, like at least in this part of the playoffs, but like when it's the final, it is so deflating because you're just like, well, I don't even know what's the point of watching the second leg because there's no either a miracle happens or that congratulations to the team that had the blowout victory in the first leg. But um, I'm hoping that these are going to be tight matches like they did. Like the Clausura last year was great. Like I think all the matches were very close to each other. That you didn't feel like one team was already out of it. So I hope that it stays like that because it does make good football, in my opinion. So obviously, I'm not going any further in these predictions. I'm not gonna. I think right now my early favorite is going to be Toluca. I think that they're a really strong team, really balanced. So I think that they are in transition right now to have a repeat and respectively. So I think they've done a lot of right things in Toluca, and they're going to build, I guess you can say, their dynasty of this era for Deportivo Toluca. But like I said, there's not really much else predictions I'm gonna make here because obviously after the play-in round we're gonna go more in depth in these other matchups. So we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, if you guys are like I'm telling you guys, I've been saying it. Liga MX is a fun league to watch. Go watch it. It's really entertaining. Go and take advantage of what's going on in this league. I guarantee you're gonna have a good time. But that is Liga MX. We'll go ahead and transition over to MLS Cup Playoffs.
Fight and win!
All right, so round 1 of the MLS Cup Playoffs is over. No more best of 3. Now it's one game, single elimination from here on out. So, once again, yes, no one likes this format. I want to predicate that again because I feel like some people just think that all MLS supporters like this format. Most people do not. It's kind of dumb, and now even more dumb. We have a break during the international break. So, and that's one of my gripes as well, because like a team that had like a huge significant win now has to they kind of cool down now because they go through the international break and then they start again with, it's almost like a fresh start for both teams. So that could also be fair, but it sucks when you're a team that's maybe considered an underdog who came off of a big victory and now they have to kind of just, all right, clean slate, I guess. But we'll see what happens, man. I do think eventually this is going to change. I don't know if it's going to be next season. I'm still intrigued what next season is going to happen, because if you're going to switch into a fall-spring calendar versus a spring-fall calendar like they've always had, you're going to have to do something in the springtime, at least like a shortened season, and then have that full season happen, come fall. But that's going to be something where we talk about when we get closer down to that part of the season for MLS. But we're close to having an MLS Cup champion, and I can't wait for that part at least. So we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference, and the first one we're going to talk about is Philadelphia taking care of business. They swept Chicago Fire in 2 games, obviously because it's best of 3, so it sounds dumb to call it a sweep, but it technically is a sweep. Philadelphia, once again, are just one of the better teams in MLS, are Supporters' Shield winners. A good combination of attack and defense. They've done really well all season long, and props to Chicago Fire for putting up a good fight, but I just never saw it. But I will say, Greg Berhalter, man, for you to get eliminated, which still, I think if you're a Chicago Fire fan, you should be very much proud of this team. Like, they've exceeded expectations. I don't think anybody expected them to be where they were, and I think that at this point they were playing with house money, right? Like, they were doing fairly well for themselves. Like, you can't call this year a bust because, once again, no one expected you to be here. And then I'm sure there was still hesitancy when Greg Berhalter was hired as the manager of this team. And they have looked great. They look strong. Maybe add a few more pieces come next season, and maybe this team is poised for an interesting run in MLS Cup. But you had a hard start to this first round, which was going up against legitimately the best team in MLS this season. And so, yes, the Supporters' Shield curse is still very much a thing. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know, man. This Philadelphia team makes me feel so differently about them that maybe they're the team that breaks the curse, but you never know who you go up against, because that could be a massive change. Now, so Philadelphia, Chicago, I think it kind of went how I expected it to go, but I think Chicago did a really good job. I think they put up a really good fight. It just, once again, it just wasn't in the cards for them, man. It just wasn't. It wasn't their day. All right, the next matchup is NYCFC beating Charlotte. This was one of the more interesting series because it wasn't the home field advantage that helped. It was the teams on the road. This was the road dog series, as the road teams were the ones winning. But NYCFC, like, as some people were very hesitant on this team, not necessarily that they were going to be in the playoffs. I think everyone knew they were going to be in the playoffs. I think it's just everyone's had a higher expectation of Charlotte, especially when you already had a very good defensive team, and then you added Wilfred Zaha. You think that this team is going to do some real damage this season, maybe go on a further run, so the expectation is a little bit higher for Charlotte, but they were just not it this round, man. In all 3 of them, in my opinion, they were not as great as I hoped them to be on the attacking end. And NYCFC was just clearly, in the moments, were just more impactful. And I think that is what matters in the playoffs at this point. So, like, even you could be good consistent. And also the 4th and 5th matchup, I always say it's going to be a closer one. And it really was. I had a lot of fun watching it. I love the fact that the road teams were the winners in all 3 of these matches. But, for Charlotte, I mean, they had to go to pens to move on. And that's why That's why they were able to move on. This time around, it just didn't help them. They needed to score goals and they didn't. That's why they're not going on, and NYCFC is. And now people are looking like maybe this team can put up a good fight against Philadelphia. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to still be a challenge for them. It's Philadelphia, but it's going to be an interesting matchup nonetheless. But we'll get more into that matchup as we move on. But the next one, Inter Miami beating Nashville SC. This was looking like it's going to happen again, but Miami made it be known they learned their mistakes from last year, and they're not going to let it happen again. And they took care of business, and without Luis Suarez. Nashville, great run. I know if you guys have been watching me on Goals TV, you know that this was basically my championship DVD team, the team that I was going to ride with and see if they could go far. I think they did fairly well for them this year. Obviously won the U.S. Open Cup, but it's Miami, bro. It's Messi and friends. And like I said, I think they learned a lot from their mistakes of last year, and they're taking it very seriously this go about, which could be very dangerous for all the other teams in the MLS Cup, that this team is more locked in than they've been before, especially the way they played in that Game 3. So Miami means business, man. And I think if a team can benefit from having that break for the international break, it's probably Miami. They get to rest their players because they are on a lot of older legs. Like, this team could definitely benefit from the break, and if they come in refreshed going into that matchup with Cincinnati, I mean, with Messi, there's never a doubt. But yeah, that's Inter Miami and Nashville. Nashville, I don't think this is the last we'll see of Nashville. I think Nashville's going to be really good. I think they're going to make some big changes to make this team even better, and I hope that they can follow through, man. I like watching Nashville. I think they bring up a good team. I think BJ Callahan is such a great manager for MLS, and I think that this needs to keep going, man, for this team. FC Cincinnati and Columbus, Hell's Real Derby. We got 3 games of Hell's Real Derby, and I enjoyed them thoroughly. And yeah, FC Cincinnati was very much one of the best teams in MLS this year, and they let that be known. Columbus, I think once again you try to factor in Wilfred Nancy. You want to factor in as he's one of the best coaches in MLS, and the reality is I just think that they suffered from not having like a real 9. I think that that's one of the things that really killed them. But like I said, this team was still, regardless of not having a 9, they played really well. And on top of that, for Darlington Nagbe, who basically this was his last match as a Columbus Crew player, what a send-off, man. The man won everywhere he played at, and, can't wait for his retirement. I don't know what he's going to do, but I can't wait for Darlington Nagbe for his future. But, yeah, FC Cincinnati handled their own, and they're moving on into the Western Conference semifinals, or the quarterfinals, if you want to look at it like that, if you don't want to use all those weird labels like Western Conference Finals, Western Conference Semifinals, all that crap. But, all right, going to the West, and San Diego beats Portland 2-1 in the series. I think Portland put up a good fight. I think Portland showed that they are not this joke of a team that everyone's been trying to say that they are. But San Diego was just better. And I mean, that Game 3 just proved that they were just better than Portland. And they handled their business, and they did what they needed to do. I think, once again, it's a daunting task to tell a team to go into Portland and play well. Once again, Portland is one of the stronger fronts in MLS, especially in a playoff atmosphere. And I think that they did not I didn't oversell that. I think that the home field was definitely strong, and that was the reason why they were able to force a Game 3. But once again, San Diego is just levels on levels. It's really interesting to see them do this. I think that they're going full send, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they continue on in this MLS Cup playoffs. In the next matchup, we have Minnesota United beating Seattle Sounders, also going to a Game 3. And yeah, this series was great. Once again, 4 and 5 is always going to be a good matchup. I'm just going to keep telling y'all that. They're just going to be the most even matchup, and it was very fun to watch how they played. Seattle put in a strong fight, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know, man. Like, you kind of question Minnesota a little bit, but once again, you do what you need to do, which win games. But I mean, maybe you have some question marks as they're going to the next round because they just weren't able to win in regulation time. They had to go to penalties to advance. But I will say, if they can play hard enough throughout the 90 minutes plus and get to a penalty situation, you feel like they think that they have a good shot at going far. But the question is, will that be enough for them? Can they compete for a full 90 to force those penalties? Because, like I said, when they were in Seattle, it was a completely different story. So, and they're back on the road. So we'll see what happens there. I can't wait to see. I'm like kind of hesitant. I did think Seattle would probably made a better team, but at the end of the day, you play who you play and you move on. If you don't win, you don't win, and that's what happened for Seattle. And Minnesota moves on, right? Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports. And then the next 2 matches, they both were sweeps. I think that's the reason why I kind of like this one, man. Like, only 3 games ended in sweeps, which was 2 wins, right? It went to 2 games. But I'm also glad that these next 2 went to 2 games because LAFC beat Austin FC in a sweep. They just beat them. They didn't care, just beat them. And what's even funnier was that game 2 was a 4-1 beating. Like, the 2-1 game, like, everyone was like, I think Austin might put a good fight. And I'm just like, bro, it's Austin. It's Austin. They don't score. They can defend, but they don't score. And the 2-1 win was a good one for LAFC, but I think when they really opened it up with the 4-1 victory, and you got to say, confidence is definitely probably on their side after that. But, you know, they are on the road now at this point. So we'll see if they can be road dogs, which, I mean, they did prove they could do it on the road as they beat Austin. But they do have a significant longer break, but it doesn't really matter because the other matchup also went to 2 games, which was Vancouver Whitecaps beating FC Dallas in obviously in a sweep. And once again, Vancouver is just one of the better teams in MLS. Even though the second game did go to pens, I just think that that's just kind of more of props to the fight that FC Dallas had. But they did end up winning in penalties. Vancouver, once again, is, to me, in my opinion, the most balanced team in MLS. They have an amazing attack, and I think they have like the best attack and best defense. Maybe they're at least like one of the top teams in attack and one of the top teams in defense. So they are very dangerous. I think that they're right now, to me, the odds-on favorite to win MLS Cup because of just how complete they are on all facets of the game. But, you know, anything can happen, man, when it comes down to it. But, you know, like I said, for Vancouver, it's just an interesting story for them going all that they've gone through, especially with the potential of their team being sold to now here they are, one of the best teams in MLS. So I think that that's still very commendable for this team, and I hope that they do go far. I'm rooting for this team, man. I'm pulling for them because, you know, this team did make it to the final of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and it'd be a real shame if this team doesn't win anything this season. And so we'll see what happens if we're going to see them on December 6th. But all right, conference semifinals or quarterfinals if you really, really want to go there. So the quarterfinals matches will start at the East once again. The first game is first place Philadelphia Union taking on 5th place NYCFC. It is, once again, it's going to be at Philly. The matchup is going to be a big one. I think both teams are really good. Both teams are very capable of taking shots. But I think at the end of the day, it's that Philadelphia defense. They are like I said, MLS Cup Supporter Shields, but they are one of the most complete teams in MLS. So that's going to be really the task that NYCFC has. Can they keep up with this? Can can they keep up with this Philadelphia team? And I think that's where I have my doubts with them. I think that they have done very well for themselves, but I think this might be the end of the road. And I think I am being boring. I am being boring and picking the best team. But I think that is what it comes down to. I think how they play solid defensively and they play solid on the attack. It's kind of hard to find a weak spot on this team. So Philadelphia is very much there's a reason why the Supporters Shield winners. I don't think the Supporters Shield curse comes into play just yet. Or if it even happens at all, I think that they're really good this year. It's just going to be daunting to see who can beat this team. Though I will say, in the Eastern Conference, there is 2 other teams that I do believe can beat Philadelphia, but NYCFC isn't one of those teams. So I'm going to have Philadelphia move on to the semifinals. And then the other matchup in the Eastern Conference, it is FC Cincinnati taking on Inter Miami. And yeah, man, Cincinnati has been solid. Evander has been a very big upgrade since losing Lucho Acosta, and they have just been strong nonetheless. And they know how to win at home. They have a strong home front, and you want to hope that that's going to be enough to go against Miami. Now, I will point out that Miami does come in flocks, and they come in flocks for sure. Can we see some people swapping their FC Cincinnati kid for a Messi kid? I hope not. I hope that there's going to be a lot of that Messi hate because this guy is going to play against your team. But that's where it's going to be interesting now, because now it's one-off games, so the Messi fans are going to do all they can to make sure that they're going to be present at those games to see Messi potentially win an MLS Cup. So, dang, does home field become a factor? Is home field going to be a factor for FC Cincinnati? That is an interesting question to have. And unfortunately, I think Miami does win. I think Miami's going to be Miami's players are going to be rested. I think if anybody benefits from this break, it's Miami. Their main players are very much older, so for them to get enough rest and go into this matchup against FC Cincinnati, and that's the other scary thing. You're giving guys that are so seasoned time to prepare for FC Cincinnati. I think that that's very dangerous. I think Miami, if any team benefits from the break that's going to happen because of the international break, and I mean Messi's over at Barcelona right now, so I know they're not training or anything, but once again, when he comes back, he's getting locked in. He's watching film. He's going to see what he can expose from this FC Cincinnati team. You're giving this team time to be rested, to heal whatever they need to heal, and go in as strong as they humanly can against FC Cincinnati. And that is that's what makes me feel like that they're going to benefit from this. So give me Inter Miami. I know all the Messi haters are hating me for doing that, but I'm going to say Inter Miami makes it to the semifinals to take on the Philadelphia Union, which should be a really good matchup if that happens. And I know that I picked the first seed, and now I'm picking the third seed. I will say, though, it's kind of not. I think a lot of people. I'm sure people are going to be saying, "It's Messi. He's better than MLS, and he should win the MLS Cup because he's the best. He's Messi. He's the GOAT." I get all those things, but he hasn't won an MLS Cup yet. But he might. All right, moving on from the East, going to the West. We have San Diego taking on Minnesota United. San Diego looks good. And I think, once again, it's just a question of when is their inexperience going to become a factor? Not this game. I think Minnesota, while they are a weird team and can be frisky at times, I'm just not sold from them from this first round. I'm not sold by their victories. Honestly, the 3-3 draw, cool. But at the same time, I'm still not sold. I'm still not sold by this Minnesota team. I think San Diego is very much better than Minnesota, and you're going into Snapdragon, which is a strong front. Yeah, I'm just not sold on Minnesota United. I'm just not, and I like San Diego. I like a lot of this team. I like how they play. I like how tenacious they are. Dreyer is just an amazing player. Should be considered for MVP, but it's probably going to be Messi. I just think that this team is just levels above Minnesota. I'm just not sold. I'm not sold on Minnesota, which is unfortunate because Minnesota is a fun team to me. But I'm I'm not at all confident for them to go against San Diego. So I'm gonna pick San Diego to move on. Yes, once again, boring pick, first place team, but I get it, and I also get it. But I mean, all the top seeds are like the upper half of the seeds are moving on. The only team that's not an upper half of the seeds was NYCFC, and they're 5th place. So take that with a grain of salt. All right, but the last matchup, the last quarterfinal matchup, it is 2nd place Vancouver Whitecaps taking on 3rd place LAFC. I think this is the best matchup of all of these matches. I think that this is very much can go either way. I can see LAFC go into Vancouver, which, by the way, I have argued that is one of the hardest stadiums to play in. Vancouver is just a really weird stadium. I don't know why, but it's tough to win on the road. LAFC has been able to do it. And also, once again, you have Heung-min Son, Denny Boanga. They have a really good team. But this Vancouver team is so fun defensively. They're so fun on the attack. And they also have Thomas Mueller. You have, obviously, Sebastian Berhalter. You have Blackman. You have you could just list all the players. Brian White. Like, they're a really good team. And I'm pulling for them. I'm not going to lie. I'm biased here. I kind of want Vancouver to win this thing. But I can also see LAFC get one under them, pull the rug on them, and move on to the next round, which I can see happen. But I'm gonna go with Vancouver. I think Vancouver moves on. I think that they're built for playoffs. I mean, look how they did to make it to the league to the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. Yes, they got destroyed by Cruz Azul, but still they got to the final nonetheless. I think that they are very much built for playoffs, and I would love to see this team make it to the final. And yeah, I think Vancouver's a fun team, and I hope it continues, man. So those are my picks. I'm going to say, once again, the semifinal matches, we're going to have Philadelphia against Miami. That's my prediction. And we're going to have San Diego take on Vancouver Whitecaps for the Western Conference. But it's anyone's game, man. I can't wait. I think that this is where things get kind of interesting. Can we see some shakeups? I hope so. I kind of, in some way, picked all the home teams win. And you could kind of say Miami just because, once again, you're going to see a lot of Messi fans go to that stadium. But I hope that we're going to see a strong front for FC Cincinnati as well. So that is my prediction right now. But that is MLS Cup playoffs. We'll take a break and then go right into the U.S. men's national team.
I love soccer, Peggy.
All right, guys. U.S. men's national team international break is here. We're going to go ahead and look at the matches for the U.S. men's national team. So their first match will be against Paraguay, which will be in Subaru Park in Pennsylvania, home of the Philadelphia Union. That game is going to be played at 4 p.m. Central Time. 4 p.m. Central Time. You can watch that on TNT, HBO Max, Telemundo, Universo, or Peacock. So that's going to be November 15th at Subaru Park. And then you will see them on the 18th, November 18th. They're going to take on Uruguay. And that is going to be played in Tampa Bay for the first time since 2018 in Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think USF also plays there. November 18th against 16th ranked Uruguay. And that game will be played at 6 p.m. Central Time, and that will be available on TNT, True TV, HBO Max, Universo, and Peacock. So once again, that is where it's going to happen. That's who they're playing against. I think Paraguay and Uruguay, really interesting matchups against strong South American opponents, especially with Uruguay definitely being one of the strong teams. Paraguay is a very tough team. I think both can offer different things for them, and I think the reason why obviously we're seeing two South American teams is, once again, South America has already done has completed their qualifiers for the World Cup, so they're going to be more available versus I believe Asia is still doing their qualifiers, and I believe obviously UEFA still has their qualifiers, and CONCACAF as well have. Well, I mean, why would they do a friendly with a CONCACAF team? But so everybody else is still doing their qualifiers. I believe Africa as well. So to get a good matchup right now, it just makes sense to go play CONMEBOL teams, which is a very important thing. I think CONMEBOL helps to build on your physicality, especially when you're talking about Uruguay and Paraguay are very physical teams. I think that's going to help, especially build some intensity on this call up. Once again, I think at this point the call ups, it's kind of like right now is still see who you like. Obviously, we're not going to see Christian Pulisic. He had an injury in last call up, and they're still trying to. AC Milan wants to have him be fully recovered and available. He should be playing this month, but right now he's just not the priority right now, and it makes all the sense in the world. I'm not against it. I think we know we're going to see Christian Pulisic in the World Cup, and so if you can keep him healthy, that's the best thing we can do. So right now, we just got to figure out who else is going to be there. Now, there's guys that we know for a fact are going to be there. But there's the fringe players that you need to rotate out and see who do we really have is the real question. So we'll go right into goalkeepers. We have Roman Celentano of FC Cincinnati, which makes a lot of sense. Once again, they're taking the break from MLS Cup Playoffs. And so, you get a chance to take a look at these guys. Matt Freese from New York City FC, Jonathan Klinsmann of Cesena, and Patrick Schulte of the Columbus Crew. I think, obviously, once again, until proven differently, Matt Freese is our goalkeeper. That's it. That's all. That's my TED Talk right there. Until proven differently, Matt Freese is our goalkeeper. And I think he's done a really good job, especially with the U.S. men's national team. So unless someone can outshine him in training and can outshine him in playing, a better goalkeeper can get better minutes, which I don't think we have a better goalkeeper right now. So I think Matt Freese, to proven differently, is a guy to look at. I don't know if we'll be rotating goalkeepers. I don't expect it to be. I know Patrick Schulte's there now, which has been a guy that Mauricio Pochettino has used before. But I think at this point, Matt Freese has kind of locked himself in as the starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team, which I'm not against. So that's perfectly fine. Defenders, we have Max Arfsten of the Columbus Crew, Sergino Dest of PSV Eindhoven, Alex Freeman of Orlando City, Mark McKenzie of Toulouse, Tim Ream of Charlotte FC, Miles Robinson of FC Cincinnati, Joe Scally of Borussia Mönchengladbach, John Tolkien of Holstein Kiel, and Austin Trusty of Celtic. Obviously, things to point out from the defenders, Joe Scally has made his return to the U.S. men's national team after what seemed like he was on the doghouse for the whole golf cart incident, but maybe one, he consistently plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach. I think we always need to point that out. He does play consistently for them. They are not very good right now, but he does have the most consistent playing time. John Tolkien is really interesting. I do want to see him, what he can do for the U.S. men's national team. I think the center back pairings we have are just what they are. I think, you bring in Austin Trust to see what he could do. I really hope we don't see Miles Robinson and Tim Ream, especially for that back three. I will point out as far as like center backs goes, we have Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, and Austin Trusty. You could kind of throw Joe Scally out there as a potential center back. But we technically have 4 center backs, and if we're going to use a 3 in the back type formation, either we're having one guy on the bench, or maybe because Joe Scally's ability to also play as a center back could be featured at some point. But maybe we're not going to see a 3 in the back formation. But Sergino Dest, Max Arfsten are pretty good options for wing back. Same thing for Alex Freeman. But we'll see what exactly Mauricio Pochettino has in mind. I hope we see more of that 3 in the back formation, but maybe he goes to a 4-2-3-1 formation, just to once again have just options upon him to have for the World Cup. But as far as for the defenders, I wish we could go away from Miles Robinson, but I think what other center back is out there that you would put over him? Maybe Noah Kai Banks maybe a name that you think of, but at this point, I don't know. It scares me more and more that potentially we could see Miles Robinson in the World Cup. I'm just gonna say it. It does scare me a little bit. But we'll see what happens, man. But that is defenders. Midfielders, we have Sebastian Berhalter of Vancouver Whitecaps, Aiden Morris of Middlesbrough. We got Gio Reyna, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Christian Roldan of the Seattle Sounders, Tanner Tessman of Olympique Lyon, and Timmy Tillman of LAFC. Now, I believe we were supposed to have Tyler Adams, he was knocked with an injury. Also, Sean Zawodowski of the Columbus Crew was also withdrawn due to an injury. Was another midfielder. Let me see.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon Jerky.
And he only added Timmy Tillman, so he didn't add anybody else to come in for the U.S. men's national team. So that's interesting. Maybe he'll name another player at some point, but that's who they're riding with. I think from this group, obviously Gio Reyna is the guy to talk about. You know, he had an interview. He talked about how he wants to move on from what happened in the World Cup, and this is kind of, I guess you could say, his start to move away from that, right? Can he go in, and show why a lot of people view him as one of the best players on the team? He is very versatile. He can play the 10 role, obviously. And I mean, in this call up, you don't have Malik Tillman. You don't have obviously there's certain guys on here that as far as like 10s to concern. I mean, there is one guy, but right now he's labeled as a forward. But I mean, like that Gio Reyna could be this opportunity to showcase what he could do as a 10. So I'm really interested by that. Sebastian Berhalter is a guy that Pochettino just really likes using. So we'll see more about this team. We'll see if we can figure out what are the combinations he wants in the midfield. I'm not freaking out that Weston McKennie isn't here. I'm not going to freak out that Yunus Musa isn't here. I think once again it's just about seeing who do we really have. Come like the spring call-ups, then I kind of want to start seeing like the actual U.S. men's national team, or at least what I want to see as the actual U.S. men's national team. I'm kind of trusting Pochettino at this point. Like, no more just like trying to complain about things that Pochettino, and I haven't really complained as much with Pochettino, but I just kind of want to just, instead of trying to like try to understand what he's doing, I'm just going to trust what he's doing at this point. Like, he is a very good coach. And I want to believe that he is capable of it, so I'm not going to doubt him. I think that he has brought in some pretty good midfielders. I think at this point, if you're a Christian Roldan hater, it's just because you're a Christian Roldan hater. He proved to be really good when he came in last month's call-ups. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked about these things. So he's performing, and obviously Pochettino wants to give him another look and see what he could do. And I think he has an opportunity where he could be starting in these two matches. And, you know, if he could play very good against very physical opponents like Paraguay and Uruguay, who's to say that this could be an opportunity to showcase what he could do, and we could see him in the World Cup. And I think a guy with his ability and experience could be beneficial, especially in the depth position. But, all right, forwards. So there are 5 forwards. We have Brendan Aronson of Leeds United, Folarin Balogun of AS Monaco, Diego Luna of Real Salt Lake, Ricardo Pepi of PSV Eindhoven, and Haji Wright of Coventry City. Now, I think we are going to have 3 in the back now because I'm looking at these guys. Because, I mean, yes, Haji Wright can play on the wing. Diego Luna can also play on the wing. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to try to question it, but I am glad to see Ricardo Pepi back. I think Folarin Balogun has proven that he is the best 9 for the U.S. men's national team right now. I will say Ricardo Pepi on the back end is really helpful. I think that, you know, if you have Folarin Balogun who can really tire out back lines for the U.S. men's national team, and then just bring in Ricardo Pepi who just plays straight up fuck you ball. Sorry for cussing Kelsey. Especially when he plays with that Mexican style of just pressing and just getting at your face and just finding his opportunity and scoring a goal. I personally am a Ricardo Pepi guy, but I also see the value in Folarin Balogun. So I can see them having Balogun start out, and then as the back line gets tired, bring in Ricardo Pepi as a hot spark, and he can cause some damage as well on the attacking side. So have no complaints. Obviously, love seeing Diego Luna here. I love seeing Haji Wright. Haji Wright deserves to get a call up. I think what he did in the last call up proves that he definitely deserves to be there as a potential 9 option. So yeah, I like it. And Brandon Aronson knows how to pay, knows how to press. And Diego Luna, tenacious guys. I will say it's interesting that they labeled them as forwards. I do think that these guys that could play the 10 role or can be on the wing. But once again, if you're playing with a 3 in the back formation, you're going to be using wing backs. I don't think Luna and Brandon Aronson are necessarily going to be playing wing back, but I do see them as those 2 cams. If you're talking about a 3-4-2-1 formation? Yeah, like in that kind of formation where you have 2 cams, like Diego Luna, Brandon Aronson, and Gio Reyna are kind of the guys you see there. So obviously starting goalkeeper Matt Freese. If we're talking about back 3, I think it's very much going to be Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie. That's just what we've been seeing, so I'm not going to change that too much. The initial 4 wing backs, I do think it's going to be Max Arfin and Sergino Dest. I think Alex Freeman coming off the bench can also be a potential option. John Tolkien, I hope to see him. I don't think we saw. I believe he was called up last time and we didn't see him play, so that was kind of unfortunate. But so I think that's going to be like our wing backs essentially is Max Arfin and Sergino Dest. The midfield, I think we are going to see Christian Roldan. I think we'll see Aiden Morris, at least start out. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Sebastian Berhalter either. Like maybe Sebastian Berhalter and Aiden Morris instead of Christian Roldan. But I think Christian Roldan deserves a start. And then the 2 10s. I'm going to say for the first game, we're going to see Diego Luna and Brandon Aronson. And then Florian Balogun up top. Though I would love to see Gio Reyna just get his opportunity. But, we'll see what happens there. But, yes, those are the U.S. men's national team. I don't have any real complaints. I don't think that this is a bad call-up. I definitely see what exactly Pochettino's looking for. Well, not looking for, but I can see Pochettino is very much just trying to really still figure things out. I think more and more we're starting to see the shape of this team. And like I said, I'm tired of questioning whatever he does. I think this time we just got to embrace what he does and hope that it works out. And I think that's where I'd rather be at. So, once again, November 15th at Subaru Park, Chester, Pennsylvania, against Paraguay. And then November 18th against Uruguay at Raymond Jones Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida. So, once again, you can watch these matches on TNT, HBO Max, Telemundo, Universo, and Peacock. So make sure you guys watch them and support the U.S. men's national team as they're trying to have a statement in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But all right, that's U.S. men's national team. We're going to go and take a break and then go right into players of the week.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
All right, guys. Players of the Week is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site, app, however you use it. It is great for all live events that you want to attend, from sporting events all the way to concerts. SeatGeek has you covered. Me and Edward use it all the time for all the events that we attend. It has a very simple grading system using colors and numbers. If it is a really low score and it's super red, that means those tickets are not worth for that event. Keep scrolling, you'll find something better. And if it's very high and super green, that means you found that something better. So we love the simplicity of SeatGeek, and we hope that you do too. But if you're not sold just yet, for first-time users, if you guys use the code BELLYUPSPORTS at checkout, you will save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets. All right, Edwards Player of the Week is Robert Lewandowski, who scored a hat-trick in Barcelona's 4-2 win against Celta Vigo. Yes, that's right, the same Barcelona game that I missed out on the Houston Texans having the greatest comeback in Houston Texans history. Yeah, that game, that's the game I ended up having to watch instead of watching my fucking Houston Texans. So, for all my family, once again, fuck you for making me having to watch this game over watching the Houston Texans. Because, 1, I don't want to watch Barcelona. 2, I don't want to watch Barcelona. And 3, the Houston Texans completed one of the best comebacks in Houston Texans NFL history. So yes, I am angry, and sorry for cussing, Kelsey. So there is that. My player of the week is Igor Thiago, who scored 2 goals in Nottingham Forest's 3-1 victory against Leeds United. So congratulations to Robert Lewandowski and Igor Thiago for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, for first-time users, use that code BELLYUPSPORTS at checkout to save $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets. Thank you once again, SeatGeek, for being our partner at Belly Up Sports and for being the presenting partner of Players of the Week. Now, guys, it is the international break. International matches playing. There's no league play going on. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. So any big matches coming up? We do have, as a matter of fact, I haven't written anything down, so I'm actually literally looking at it as we go. We have Canada on Thursday. So these are games that are being played on Thursday, so you guys know. We have a friendly Canada versus Ecuador. I think it's a really interesting matchup, a good way to test these two teams out. Canada potentially could be playing against Ecuador. Ecuador, two teams that will be in the World Cup. So Canada versus Ecuador. We have in UEFA World Cup qualifiers, some interesting matches. We'll get there. We have England taking on Serbia, France versus Ukraine. So that's for UEFA. Once again, I'm reading it as I go. So if this seems kind of half-assed, it's because it is. It's 100% half-assed. In World Cup qualifiers for CONCACAF, we have Suriname taking on El Salvador. At this point, I'm just praying. Guys, I want to see El Salvador make it to the World Cup. Do I see that happening? Probably fucking not. Sorry. I wish I can. It's like the quote from the Shawshank Redemption when Morgan Freeman was hoping that we could say that, he did put up a good fight and that he did, in fact, get himself free. But unfortunately, this is not one of those stories. And I think that that's very much the case for El Salvador as well. Yeah, they're going to take on Suriname. It is a good opportunity. If they can get some, they need a win. They need wins. No draws, wins. They need wins to come out of this group. So we'll see. We'll see if El Salvador is game to continue on in World Cup qualifying. If not, maybe one day. Maybe one day. We have Trinidad and Tobago taking on Jamaica. So that's another interesting matchup. Jamaica, I believe, is essentially in the driver's seat to qualify for the World Cup. Can Trinidad and Tobago also get themselves in a position to qualify as well? Guatemala versus Panama. Once again, I think what is still kind of up for grabs in the group that El Salvador is in is that it's still anybody's game. So, like I said, El Salvador is in must-win mode. Panama and Guatemala are having a chance where they could probably kill themselves at this point, where we can hope that maybe El Salvador can jump over them, and that's what I'm praying for. So we're there. We're back at that mood point. We got Haiti and Costa Rica and Nicaragua taking on Honduras. Nicaragua is very much out of it, but I still, we'll just still talk about them. In the Asian region, we do have United Arab Emirates taking on Iraq in their first leg of the World Cup qualifiers. In CAF, in their World Cup qualifiers, I believe they're in the playoff part of it. Nigeria taking on Gabon and Cameroon taking on the Republic of Congo. So that is what the matches for Thursday are. Friday, we have Japan versus Ghana. Interesting matchup there for Friday. Let's see. Keep going. Like, once again, I've no preparation on this one. Uzbekistan taking on Egypt. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, Uzbekistan is qualified for the World Cup. Can a matchup against Egypt help them prepare as they go into their journey for the World Cup? Saudi Arabia versus Ivory Coast could be interesting as well. Let me see. Venezuela taking on Australia. I think also a very interesting matchup. And never mind. Fun fact, Venezuela versus Australia is scheduled to be played here in Houston, Texas. So if anybody wants to go ahead and enjoy that. Might look at ticket prices. We'll see. Moving on to World Cup qualifiers in Europe, we got Croatia taking on the Faroe Islands. We have Poland taking on the Netherlands and Slovakia taking on Northern Ireland. That is for Friday's fixtures. Saturday's fixtures. I apologize. I probably should have done a better job preparing for this, but hey, we're here where we're here. All right, Saturday, November 15th, USA versus Paraguay. That's obviously the one to talk to, especially my focus will be on Russia versus Chile. Interesting matchup there. Brazil versus Senegal. That's going to be juicy. It's going to be played also in London, so no home field advantage there. We'll keep going. Colombia versus New Zealand. That'd be interesting. Mexico versus Uruguay. That's going to be a really good one to watch. And for UEFA, Kazakhstan versus Belgium. Very nice. We're still scrolling. Bosnia versus Romania will be a good one. I apologize once again, guys. I should have done a better job of this. Switzerland versus Sweden, but you guys understand my situation. Switzerland versus Sweden, also available on that Saturday. Also, fun fact, El Clasico, the women's edition, is also happening. So for you women's soccer supporters, women's football supporters, Real Madrid versus Barcelona, El Clasico is happening also this weekend. But obviously that doesn't count towards the bets. Pushing forward on Sunday, we have UEFA qualifiers. We have Albania taking on England, and Italy versus Norway. That one's going to be a good one, for sure. And that's it for Sunday. Let's go into Monday, and we'll go into like the gist of. We'll go into Tuesday's fixtures as well. Egypt versus Algeria. That should be an interesting matchup in that region. More UEFA qualifiers. We do have Germany versus Slovakia. Yeah, that's probably it for that one. And that is the Monday fixtures. And then Tuesday, USA versus Uruguay. South Korea versus Ghana. That would be interesting. I might actually try to watch at 5 a.m. Probably not. We're going to watch that. Let's see. Saudi Arabia versus Algeria. That's again? Or did Saudi Arabia play somebody else? I don't know. Chile versus Peru. In Russia. Huh. Okay. Continuing on. Brazil versus Tunisia. That'll be a good one in France this time around. Colombia versus Australia in New York. NYC in Citi Field. So a baseball stadium. That's interesting. Ecuador versus New Zealand in New Jersey. So busy day for the Kiwis and the Aussies and the Colombians and the Ecuadorians. Mexico will be taking on Paraguay in San Antonio, Texas. So there's that. Venezuela versus Canada in Fort Lauderdale. That's interesting. Wait, is that happening? Yeah, it is happening. All right, UEFA World Cup qualifiers. We do have Austria taking on Bosnia. Scotland versus Denmark. That's going to be a good one. Spain versus Turkey. Arda Güler taking on some of his teammates from Real Madrid. That's going to be interesting. Wales versus North Macedonia. In CONCACAF, we do have Costa Rica versus Honduras. Guatemala versus Suriname. Jamaica and Curacao, that's going to be a good one. Panama and El Salvador, once again, it is must win at this point for El Salvador, and this is why I have absolutely no faith in El Salvador right now. And then we're going to have the second leg of Iraq versus the United Arab Emirates in the Asian qualifiers. And that's about does it for the international break for this week. So obviously not all the games that we didn't announce all the games, we did announce some really interesting matchups. So even though there isn't any league play happening, international does come into play. Once again, it's all about preparation for the World Cup, or for some people's cases, qualifying for the World Cup. So there is things at stake nonetheless. So should be a really good weekend, and make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. But we're going to go ahead and take one final break and then wrap this show up in a pretty little bow for you.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I don't really know how long this one's going to be, but I just wanted to get an episode knocked out. Obviously, like I said, there was a potential that we wouldn't have a new episode just because of all that has gone on this past weekend. But once again, happy birthday to my niece. She had an amazing quinceañera. She had a lot of fun, and that's what matters more. Also, it was really cool to have my friends and all of them. Got to dance a bit, so my knees are still hurting, but it was worth it at the end of it all, especially just to celebrate my niece. Once again, happy Veterans Day. Hope everyone had a good Veterans Day. I hope Marines are fully functional now, because once again we gotta win the fight, right? So shout out to Marines. Happy birthday once again, the Marine Corps. Another shot for you guys. Happy 250th birthday, guys. Hoorah, Marine Corps. That's really good tequila. But yeah. So, shout out to Belly Up Sports. Check out their website, bellyupsports.com. Check out all the great articles that are being written there constantly right now. NFL, NCAA football, NBA, NHL. There's lots of things going on. UFC, soccer, MLS Cup. Lots of things going on right now in sports, especially here in the U.S. Check out bellyupsports.com. Read all the articles that are being written constantly. Check out the podcast. Lots of great podcasts that are there. Corner Booth Pod, High Low Sports, Stove Report, Morgan Man Sports, man. Sideline Summit, man. Check these guys out, man. Their content is amazing. I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I say that because, as someone that strives to have a good show, and these guys also are on the same page with me as well. So go check them out. Give them the love. Follow them on YouTube at Belly Up Sports. Follow them on social media, Instagram, X, Facebook at Belly Up Sports. And yeah, go ahead and give them some love, man. That's all I got to say, man. Go check them out. Shout out to Goals TV, man. Check out their website, Goals TV, goz.tv, goals.tv. Lots of great content. They're being dropped constantly. You'll find Insert Name FC there, as well as some of their original shows. Obviously, MLS Cup Playoffs is going on, so there's going to be some MLS content. So go ahead and check them out. Give them some love. Follow them on Instagram at goals.tv, goz.tv, and on the X at goals_TV, goz_TV. Yep. And with all that being said, man, make sure if you guys like the beats and all that, give Spencer some love. Follow him on Instagram at ThatGuyDope. Once again, at ThatGuyDope. He'll take great care of you like he always does with us, man. Shoot him a message. Tell him, hey, the guys at Insert Name FC need your help, and he'll take great care of you like he always does with us. But with all that being said, man, thank you so much for listening. Catch us next week for another great episode and more footy talk. So take care, guys.